All right, Andy, what's up, my man? Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, dude, I'm really stoked for this, man. You have built your business in a very unique way. It's so funny because most that I know in this industry are like, oh, don't mess with rentals. They don't want to touch them. They treat them like the plague. And you've went after the thing that most people try to avoid and grown and scaled a hell of a business, dude. I mean, number two throughout the world with EXP. Over 800 deals done, making over $500,000 on an annual basis in a pretty short damn period of time, dude. So I'm really excited to dive into this, man. So before we jump into like to what you're doing now today and what you're doing to scale now, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys on what led them here in the first place. Like, what'd you do before real estate and how'd you end up in this industry?
Yeah, and I definitely want to touch on it being taboo to do rentals. Let's chat about that because a lot of agents have a big misconception on what it's like to do rentals. Because you're right, man. I literally make $500,000 in net commission per year off doing rentals. That's my whole strategy. So I would love to talk about that in a little. But to get into real estate, I was kind of lost in life. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was basically going back and forth from Massachusetts to Florida, right? I was living in Florida. I'm from Connecticut originally, and I was actually going to open up a recreational cannabis facility in Massachusetts, going through the whole licensing process, had a whole team up there. And that's the path I was kind of going on. And all of a sudden, our funding ended up falling through at the last second. So right before we got our conditional approval, and I had to kind of pivot and change paths really quick. I didn't know if I wanted to sink in more money into this, or just go in a completely different direction. I was living in sunny Florida, and I had a few buddies that were like, you know what? Stop doing that. Maybe put a pause on that and try to get into this real estate thing. Because I'll tell you, at the time, this was back in 2019, and they were like, there's a lot of realtors down here, but I feel like I can help you enough, to get you going. This is what a few of my buddies said. One of them ended up being with EXP Realty, had jumped around to like four brokerages, before finding EXP, and actually did pretty well his first year. I can't remember the exact numbers, made like 60, 70 grand his first year. And he's like, dude, it's like, come on board with DXP, pass your test, get into real estate. You got a great personality to, talk to people and try to convince them to work with you to, at this point, it was like selling homes. I had no idea I was going to go into rentals back then. Didn't even really know anything about the real estate industry. And I was like, fine, let me try it. So I got my real estate license, passed the test pretty easy. So if anybody is watching this and is like, I don't know if I could pass this test, it's easy. It's not a problem at all. I don't know if you remember, you've been doing this for a long time, but real estate, man, I'll tell you, it's not that tough to get your license. So ended up getting my license and signed up with EXP, but it was kind of out of like, not knowing what to do in life. I didn't really want to go and work a 9 to 5 job. I was kind of working at a call center at that point, just kind of goofing around a little bit. I suppose you could say my money was drying up, and I really just needed a career, a way to make money and enjoy what I'm doing long term.
Yep. Yep. Well, sometimes those, because that funding ran out. So sometimes, when we get crushed, it and we can feel like, oh shit, man, but it opens up new doors, opens up new opportunities, and kind of becomes blessing in a disguise, right?
Yeah, when one door closes, another one opens.
Yep, yep, love it. So okay, so at this time now you're jumping, but you're staying in Florida. So your business right now, whereabouts in Florida you at?
I'm in Palm Beach County. I don't know if anybody knows Boca or Tom, but I'm down in Boca. It's gorgeous down here. If anybody's thinking about moving to South Florida, I love the Palm Beach County area, or like Broward, Miami, if anybody's
Yep.
familiar with those areas.
Okay, so then, all right, man. So this is lead us back to then. Okay, you're jumping into kind of this taboo niche in our industry. That people avoid like the plague. At what point was this like right out of the gate? You decided to focus on rentals, like kind of walk us through how you became because you're known as the rental king, dude. Like you crush it at a higher level than
Nice.
at least anybody I've heard of in this space.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, all right. So, I basically got my license in October of 2019. Okay, and everybody was telling me in the beginning, go after the buyers, go after the sellers, and in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking like, why is anybody going to trust me with the biggest purchasing decision of their life or to sell the biggest asset that they own? Who would trust me? I wouldn't trust me. I had no experience. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to write a contract. I didn't even know how to do a showing at that point. And I was like, I don't know about this. So I gave it a shot, for a couple months, going after the buyers and sellers. And it wasn't really working because, I mean, you know this. The average agent doesn't do their first sale for 9 months. That's the average. It's really tough, and I was like, I don't want to be that statistic. So ended up, with the EXP, I was in one of the offices, and it was an agent in the office was like, hey, you could do rentals. You're struggling with the buyers and sellers. You could do rentals. And I'm like, yeah, nobody even mentioned doing rentals. Like, hadn't even heard about that up until this point. And I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. So I started doing a little bit of homework, a little bit of research, and I found that down here in South Florida, it's a little different, right? We have something called Any Broker Advertise in our MLS. You could actually do this for sales too. It's not effective for sales. It's different in different states. Different states label it a different way. Some states you have to ask for permission. Doesn't matter. It basically, if you get permission to advertise another agent's rental listing, you could put it up on various sites like, Facebook Marketplace, for example. It's a very easy learning curve, and you will literally get tons of leads coming in every single day because you're advertising this rental listing that truthfully the listing agent doesn't really usually want anything to do with, because like you said before, it is taboo to work with renters, work with renters doing rentals. It's taboo. People typically shy away from doing that. So even the listing agents, if you approach them and are like, hey, can I please advertise your rental listing to try to bring you a tenant? They're like, oh, please, please try to get this off my plate as quick as possible. They love that you do that. So your whole objective and goal, which is what I did for 4.5 years now, I basically found the tenants for these listing agents for these properties in the MLS and apartment complexes too, which I'll talk about in a little bit. You could also get rental listings as well, but let me talk about actually working with the tenants first. I basically did a mass amount of volume helping tenants get into rental properties. I ended up getting my commission up to $2,000 average per deal that I was doing. In my best year, I did 250 rentals. And I think maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sales, something like that. Maybe like 10 purchases, couple listings. But it was doing rental deals, and it all started out of the pandemic. So it was a very, very, very tough market back then, because you remember it basically became a seller's market like very quickly into 2020, which like further screwed any chance I had at becoming a buyer's agent or a listing agent right away, because the competition was so incredibly fierce. But my rental strategy, it worked so incredibly well. Do you want me to go through some of my numbers for my first few years?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and can I just highlight a point right now, right? Because I think it's also, dude, like sometimes strategies, like, the timing, there's just times where the timing is right. And if you look at this unaffordability crisis that we are in, I mean, we essentially have eliminated about 50% of Americans that used to be able to partake in the housing market that can't because of the unaffordability crisis. So, but then most agents are still fighting for those where, okay, all these people that can't buy, they need a place to live. So I got to imagine like this is still just an on fire freaking niche, even post crazy pandemic stuff that we saw.
I'll tell you, it works significantly better now than it did a couple years
Yeah.
ago. When I was in my prime, like actually, because I don't do real estate full time anymore. I do a couple deals here and there. Maybe this year, I've been working 2 to 4 hours a day on my own real estate deals because I got a team of agents now. With the EXP Realty, I got a coaching program now, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I got a YouTube channel now. I do a lot of other stuff. I'm writing a book. I just spoke at the EXP Con. I do podcasts and everything. Like I don't have time to do real estate full time anymore. If I did real estate full time right now, I would beat my 250 deal record. I would probably be able to do at least 350 deals. I'm telling you, just because it is so outrageously easy, just working a few hours a day. I'm averaging about 10 deals per month, plus a buyer or a seller every single month. Because it's so easy to do it right now, because exactly like you said, the majority of people right now that used to be able to afford a home, what they're getting qualified for, they don't even want, if they even get qualified at all. It's just such a bad market. We literally, if you go and look at the graphs, we have the lowest house sales since the 2008 crash right now. It's a bad time. So to your point, 100% working with renters now. I wish it was this easy back when I was doing it, because I would have done probably twice as good.
Yep. Yep. Love it. Okay, so let's break down your system, man. How especially those first couple years getting started, like how did you start scaling this stuff up?
Yeah, it was cool. So I really count December of 2019 as my first month, because that's when I actually started trying to work with the renters. And I had no clue what the heck I was doing in the very beginning. I'm talking, I was doing like 10, 15 showings, per person, like typically. And that's not the right way to do rentals. The beauty of doing rentals is being able to do one, two, three showings, sometimes no showings, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I found this I created this really cool strategy where I don't even have to do showings anymore, but I'll talk about that. And you don't want to be doing 10 showings, per rental property. You want to get it down to working maybe 2, 3 hours, on a successfully closed rental deal compared to 20 hours working with an average buyer. And trust me, I still work with buyers and I love them. I just don't go after them. They kind of just like fall out of the sky because of the volume that I'm doing. I get referrals just left and right. My renters turn into buyers. My old renters, will say, hey, I'm fed up with renting. Let me buy a house. But in the beginning, right, I was kind of doing rentals the wrong way. And I see, I understand and know why agents think it's a bad thing to do rentals, and why, a lot of agents say, don't focus on them. It's a waste of your time. You're going to spend a lot of time just spinning your wheels. You'll make, $1,000 or $2,000, but you're going to put in all this effort. And I get that, because in the beginning of my career, I did that. But for me, I was like, you know what? I think my first deal I made about 800 bucks, and I was like making $800 in my first, technical month of real estate. That's when I started trying doing it in December. I was like, that is better than nothing, right? I would rather make $800 and close, a deal, two deals, three deals a month in the beginning than do nothing whatsoever and actually have to come out of pocket money. You're spending brokerage fees, MLS fees, you're spending gas money. If you're doing any kind of marketing, like you're wasting a lot of your money. You're in the red. So I was like, all right, this is actually starting to work. Let me try to, create a system out of this. Let me see how many rentals I can actually do in a year, right? It's my first year in 2020, essentially. And I did about 50 deals. Maybe like 5 or 6 of those were house sales because, dude, I'm telling you right now, I literally converted a bunch of these renters that were getting caught up in the rush of the pandemic with, like, the interest rates starting to lower and everything. I actually converted a bunch of those immediately into buying homes. So maybe did like, 45 rentals, 5 or 6 house sales, made about $80,000 in commission my very first year. And I really was not taking this that serious at this point. I was probably turning my phone off at 5 o'clock at night, taking off Saturday and Sunday, having an hour-long lunch. Like I wasn't really like focusing the way I knew I could be focusing. And I ended up having a moment with my now fiance. She kind of motivated me and jumpstart me. It's funny. We were in the shower and she was looking at me and she was like, it was towards the end of my first year, like right around New Year's time. And she was like, listen, she's like, I'm proud of you. You did well your very first year of real estate, but you're doing X, Y, and Z. You're playing video games at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're going to play tennis with a buddy on Thursday, and you should be working. Like, what are you doing? Like, we want to build a family and a life, and I know you have so much more potential in you. And at that time, she was actually making more money than me. And she was like, I want you to make more money than me. I know that you can do this. And I looked at her and, it was like a crossroads point in my life. Would I get mad at her for saying that I'm wasting my potential, or would I use it to empower myself? And I did. I was like, you know what? You're right. I should be working, at 8 o'clock at night. I should be working on Saturday and Sunday. I should stop goofing around and playing Xbox, on a Monday afternoon. Like, I don't need to be doing that. Let me try to build something here. In my second year of real estate, that's when I got serious, because my system that I had started to create was working. So I was on to something here. You don't want to be wasting your time doing something that's not working. But if you have something that is working, like this rental strategy I created, why not go all in and see how high you could take it? So I did. My second year, I basically did 170 deals. Again, probably did about 10 sales out of that. 160 were rentals. I made about $250,000 in net commission. And that was after being in the business for 1 year. This thing took off like wildfire. It really started to work. And I was like, okay, I'm on to something here. How far can I really push this? Because as you know, even just in real estate in general, as you keep going year over year over year, you're going to start growing. I mean, you should start. If you're not growing, you're doing something wrong. You should be growing every single year because you're going to get repeat business. You're going to get referrals coming in. You're going to get better at your craft. You should do better every single year. So in my third year, I was like, all right, now I got some repeat business. Now I got referrals coming in, but let me still get to my leads every single day. Let me try to maximize how many leads I have coming in. Let me get a better conversion rate. Let me start tracking everything. Let me create systems and processes. Let me actually create a business out of this, right? Because realistically, if you're a real estate agent, you're running your own company. You might be under, Remax or Keller Williams or EXP, but you're running your own business. So I started to treat it that way instead of being a 9 to 5 job. And I'll tell you, my third year of real estate, that's when I closed 250 deals, made $510,000 in net commission, became the #3 ranked agent in EXP Realty worldwide by deals done. I was actually #2 the year after that. But it worked. And I had realized at that point, I had something that no other agent had ever done before. I don't know if it's because no agent knew it was possible, if agents were lazy and didn't want to take the time to figure out how to get it down to doing, a rental deal in 2, 3, 4 hours and make $2,000 average commission. I don't know what realtors are thinking in their heads, but I'll tell you right now, if you create systems and processes around this, and it took me some years, to do it, you can literally make a killing. As I've done, over the years, you can literally make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year just off a rental strategy. You don't have to actually focus on buyers and sellers. I actually think right now in this market, to your point before, it's a detriment. You're almost going uphill. If you're going to be working with buyers and sellers right now, you said it best. You're eliminating so many people from your pool of leads that you could be working with because a lot of people can't afford it. So as a real estate agent, if it's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market, what is it? It's a renter's market. So why wouldn't you be focusing on the one thing that is actually working right now, and that's the renters?
Yeah, dude. And look, you think about the long-term explosion of this that leads to insane on the actual acquisition side with buyers, right? Because the statistic is, okay, 52% of tenants throughout the US remain tenants for their entire life. That means 48% of them eventually end up becoming valid buyers. So if you're stacking this, they're especially when this market corrects and affordability comes back, like you're gonna have a freaking army, dude, of people wanting to go out there and buy in addition to this, right? So okay, so I got a lot of follow-up questions for you, man. So if we kind of are chunking this down, right? Because okay, number one, you got to get the leads, you got to work the leads, then we got to qualify the leads, then we got fulfillment. And so if we kind of start chunking these down, like you mentioned marketplace, like how are you getting the leads? So somebody sold, and I think anybody that's watching or listening to this, their ears are perking up like a mofo right now. I know mine are. Right. So if we start, getting into the weeds here, so what are you doing to consistently generate the volume of leads that you need?
Yes. So obviously, in an hour-long podcast, I can't, explain everything. It's really to do one rental deal, simple, easy, right? But to do 20 or 30 in a month, that's my best month ever. I did 30 rentals in one single month. It was a deal a day. That was the best I ever did. In a month, I'd average about 20. It takes time. And that's why I do coach agents how to do it, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But let me tell you the basic strategy first, right? Let me kind of go through everything step by step on, the framework for what I'm doing. And before I forget too, I loved what you said before about the renters turning into buyers. Yeah, making $500,000 a year off, the majority of renters and a couple buyers here and there is cool and all. But what you said is true. That's why I really started focusing on the renters to begin with. Yes, you can make a lot of fast cash right now, but it's the 2 or 3 years from now when the market does flip, and it will. The market 100% at some point is going to turn back into a buyer's market. I have closed over 800 rental deals. I have such a crazy database right now where once this market does turn back, I am gonna actually probably do what, 100 purchases per year, maybe more. Who knows? And that's when I'm gonna start making, $2, $3 million a year just on my buyers that I converted from being renters. So I loved what you said there because the best is still yet to come, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Which is like you always want something to look forward to, and that's why I like doing the whole rental strategy because your renters turn into buyers, and then there's another strategy: your buyers turn into sellers. So it's like you have a whole 20-year business where the money is just gonna go up and up and up and up and up and up and up every single year. It's to me, it's the perfect strategy that I think every single realtor should start with as a new agent. And we'll go into that in a little bit because I know you asked me, how do I get these leads, right? Because I'll tell you, in my peak, I was getting 200 free leads every single day. Every day of
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace, I was getting about 200 leads. Now, this is when I was doing it during the peak of the pandemic, but even if you can get 50 leads coming in a day, 30 leads coming in a day, you're going to clean up. You're going to do a lot of business. It's volume. It's not like going on Zillow Premier and getting 15 leads, and maybe closing one of them in 3 months. It's not like that whatsoever. You're going to be closing dozens of deals every single month consistently because it's always a renter's market no matter what. We just happen to be in a very, very, very strong renter's market. But like I said, I did this during the pandemic when it was a heavy seller's market. So how do I actually get these leads? Basically, like I said before, I am going to be advertising other agents' listings with permission, right? And there's two ways you can go about doing this. One, you can do this on, Facebook Marketplace with MLS properties, right? And a second way is actually apartment complexes. They call it apartment locating. So I devised a whole apartment locating strategy where you could also do it with apartment complexes from apartments.com. You can put them up on Facebook Marketplace just using pictures, or you can use a reel strategy where you go and take a reel of the property, like a high-end luxury apartment complexes that's maybe paying a month's rent commission to the agent. So if you get them into a $3,000 high rise in, Brickell, Miami, or wherever, or Houston, Texas, sometimes these apartment complexes will give you a full month. That's $3,000 commission in your pocket. So you go to the apartment complex and you basically just take a reel, right? And you throw it up there on an Instagram page that you create, get a Google Leads form, and I'm just explaining this real basic and simple.
Yep.
And you basically get leads from an actual reel of an apartment complex, and then you convert those leads into closed deals, right? That's an apartment locator strategy. And then for the MLS strategy, you kind of do something a little bit similar, except you could do reels and have a single family home strategy. It's not as effective as apartment complexes, but you would be taking the pictures and obviously with permission from the listing agent, and throwing these up on a site like Facebook Marketplace. You'll get leads reaching out to you saying, hey, listen, I want to rent this property. Is it available? All you have to do from there is convert them over into wanting to work with you. You want to try to get that initial, either apartment complex or MLS, single family home or townhome or whatever, rented out. But if not, because you got to imagine, right? You have, let's say you get 20 leads off one rental property. Only one of those leads is getting into that property. 19 of them, they're not getting into that property. So you got to imagine, what are you going to do with those other 19 leads? Are you going to throw them to the wind, and forget about you. Only one of you guys is getting in there. No, no, no. You want to actually get those other 19 into other properties, right? So the whole entire point of this is, yes, getting that initial property rented out and then capturing those leads to work with them to find them other rental properties, or some of them are going to end up wanting to buy. Some of them, 30% of Americans actually have the debt to income ratio to qualify for a mortgage, and they don't even know it. So, just getting the volume of leads coming in and talking to people, that's how you get your foot in the door. That's how you start converting these renters into buyers, but you don't even really need the buyers realistically. If you can make $2,000 average per commission rental deal that you do, if you do 10 rentals in a month, which really is, once you get this down, and yes, I know it did take me years to actually learn how to do this and create this, but I teach agents how to do it now to sidestep all of that. Once you learn how to do it, if you can do 10 rentals in a month, and if you can make $2,000 average commission like I can make, you're going to make 20 grand in rental commission. You don't need, why do you even need a buyer? At that point, you're making $240,000 a year. Any buyer that you get is just a cherry on top. That's how I got up to making so much money because I created a system behind this. And yeah, it did take me a while to do it, but I stuck in there. I was resilient. And if you can convert these leads into wanting to work with you and keep them loyal to you and figuring out ways how to work with low credit, background issues, good credit, good income, bad income. If you can figure out ways to do that, which I did, you can make a sustainable business just off of Facebook Marketplace alone, which is the craziest thing. I'll tell you right now, once you actually figure out how to get leads, it's not like, I'm going to get a lead next week, a week after. It's daily. It's every single day. You're going to be getting leads. One of my big problems in the beginning, I wasn't actually getting to them. I got overwhelmed with the amount of leads that I was getting that I couldn't even get to all my leads. But then I systematized it and figured out how to respond to 200 leads in 30 minutes. So solve that issue. And I'll tell you right now, it's an amazing feeling being able to help a lot of people. If you're just working with a buyer every 2 months or 3 months, you get that joy and satisfaction of helping a family out very, very, very infrequently. Most of the time, things are not working out. If you're doing like FISBO calls, you're getting rejected left and right, it's very discouraging. But for the rentals, you are literally getting deals accepted. In my case, I was getting a deal accepted every day. If you're not, you're getting a deal accepted every other day or every 2 days. You're celebrating wins consistently, constantly. Leads are coming in, wanting to talk to you. They're warm leads. They want your help. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, why are you calling me? They're reaching out to you. Like, it's the best feeling in the world knowing that you're able to help so many families get into properties when, truth be told, most realtors don't even want to give them the time of day. And when they reach out to you and you pick up and you reach back out to them and say, yes, I would love to help you. They're like, oh, really? You would like to help me? That's a shock because the other 10 realtors I called hung up in my face. Didn't even want anything to do with me, even though it was their listing, right? Like it's a weird feeling when you help somebody out that nobody else wanted to help, and you're the one that actually got them into a place. It's really fulfilling.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you ever had experience with working with these like rent to own, like Home Partners of America, but from about 2019 to about 2022, we were doing a ton of volume, like with my team out here in Phoenix, about 20 average units a month. They're owned by Blackstone and but essentially they revert, so they would go in like but our job was to find the tenant, right? But then they would then qualify the tenant up front, let the tenant pick out the house as long as it met their buy box, and they would step in, buy the house, and then do a lease purchase option with the tenant. Um, so I mean, it's kind of a reverse, way of an investor buying a property, then locating the tenant. They find the tenant first. But our job as a realtor representative was to find the tenant first. And similar thing, man, between marketplace, Facebook groups, I mean, we'd post rentals just like you were talking about. Get 100 plus leads a day. Created just a survey funnel where then they could go through it. So it was efficient, work that could kind of qualify them through the survey funnel. But then they pulled out of the market like as soon as the Fed started increasing rates, so it was like
I know.
overnight, 20 units. I didn't think about, okay, I've still been focused on buyers and sellers, right? I should have been more forward thinking like you and create a division, which I'm going to as soon as we hang up here on the so then from there, dude, let me ask you this, man. So like each market is different, and I know we're not allowed to speak percentages, and especially now, and I guess maybe never were able to, but especially now, yeah, right? But okay, you got markets like mine, right? Where okay, like most listings on the MLS that are rental listings, are listed through property managers, and like, yeah, I mean, because some areas like maybe you get the first month's rent is average, or the first plus, right? Or you get, but okay, like mine if you go on there, like your average commission is going to be like between 300 and 350 bucks for a, for on so what we've done in the past is done like, non-returnable or non-refundable retainer fees for our tenants up front, and then maybe try to negotiate if we could the landlord, to be, because it's hard, like you're making a grand or two, but if you're making a few $100, so I don't know if you have coaching clients in that similar situation. Like, what do you recommend there where it's like, hey, man, we only got these people willing to pay us a few $100?
Yeah. So, all right, because I do. Yeah. And I have a lot of experience with this. Even me personally in my market, because I'm in South Florida, we typically get, I think I'm allowed to talk about rental commissions. I think it's different than buyers and sellers. but we typically get about half a month's rent commission. That's typically what we get, but it could be lower. It could be $200 or $300. I mean, it could be lower. It's whatever the listing agent wants to give, or the apartment complex. Um, Here's the thing. So wait, which market are you in exactly?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Ah, yes. So I have talked to a bunch of agents in Phoenix, and truth be told, no, you couldn't make as much in that market compared to a bigger market like the South Florida market. I mean, I've literally talked to at least 1,000 agents over the past year since I started my whole, coaching platform. And I've talked to agents across the entire country. There are some states where this just works like wildfire. I could probably name like 10 states that just this works so incredibly well. But then there's some states where it just works okay, and then there's some states where it doesn't work well at all. Phoenix is like it works okay. Phoenix works okay. It's not like bad. Like I would say, like Denver, Colorado, they make like $50, $25. Like that's bad, But you guys, yeah, you guys make about $300 or so from what I've been told. And it's because the listing agent, they'll get the full month's rent commission, but they don't want to split it for whatever reason. I don't know why. In Phoenix, Arizona, it's just, I guess it's been this way for probably decades. They just take the majority of the rental commission for themselves, and they only give out a few $100 to the tenant agent. I don't know why, but that's the way it was, in Phoenix. So yes, what I do in that kind of scenario is I would charge, well, I actually do this anyways. I charge a $300 a brokerage fee, in my case, EXP Realty, a $300 EXP fee, and I tack it on to my commission. So, if let's say I close a $3,400 rental, I'm representing the tenant, I get half a month's rent commission on that. I make 14, or no, sorry, yeah, 34, yeah, I make $1,700, right? So of that $1,700, I charge a $300 transaction fee. That's how I get up to making the $2,000 average, So if you're in a market where you're only getting $300, if you charge a $300 transaction fee to the tenant, then you'll still make $600. Now, listen, you will not, make a crazy amount of money off a $600 rental. If you do 10 rentals in a month, just doing simple math, if you get $300 plus a $300 transaction fee, you'll make $6,000, which is not terrible. It's $72,000 a year, income coming in for a brand new agent. If you do 10 rental deals and make, 72 grand in a year just off the rentals alone, that's not terrible. That's not bad. And like me, I did 6 purchases my first year. You're not going to have to wait because you'll be able to convert renters into buyers even in this market right now. I'm still doing a purchase every month or two right now in this market, working part-time. So any other agent can do it as well. So you'll probably, if you're doing 10 rentals in a month, I would imagine you could probably get a buyer every month or two. Let's just even say you get every 2 months, you get 6 buyers that year, plus you do 10 rentals, that's 120 rentals. You make the 72,000 on the actual rental deals, averaging out some numbers here. Then you could make another, we'll say 10,000 average commission, on the purchases, just throwing out a random number over here. Times 6, that's another 60 grand. You've just made around $130,000 in average commission. In my hypothetical scenario over here, that's not bad, even in a market like yours. But no, you're not going to make a fortune like South Florida, but you can make a sustainable income. And in my mind, like I said in the very beginning, it's better than making nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of success with doing, non-refundable upfront retainer fee. And, I mean, sometimes there'll be some pushback, but it's, I mean, the common thing well, hey, I mean, this is what we needed. So I'm just upfront and honest with them of like, look,
Yeah.
with what they pay us to represent you on this, it's not like you going to work for free. It's like you going to work and paying your boss. So in order for me to give you the energy, attention, time, and to be able to represent you in the way that you need representation, this is what I have to charge. And then, oftentimes I'll be like, well, why are you having this conversation with me? Because I know where it's leading, right? And they'll be like, well, you're the only agent that answered our phone. I'm like, exactly. The reason nobody else is answering your phone is because we lose money doing these. So this is what I need to do to be able to represent. And it, if you sell it right with the right value, right? Like, okay, I mean, over 50% are willing to go out there and do it. So then
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
then it can uptick, that cost per transaction that we're getting paid. So then, earlier on, man, you said that, okay, like you were doing them like everybody else, where you're out there showing 5 or 10. What have you found? Like, is it like, qualifying them up front, nailing the consultation? Like, what have you found the keys are and I know that this is like you got to coach. I mean, it probably would take you 40, 50 hours to break down every element of your strategy, but just to kind of give us the highlights of,
Yeah, yeah.
like how do you become so efficient? Because the complaint I hear from so many when it comes to rentals is, man, they take just as much time as a regular buyer, but I'm making a tenth of the, a tenth or a 15th of the commission.
Yes, yes, 100%. And I mean, there's like, it's not like, oh, I could say do this one thing and then all of a sudden you're going to do one showing per person. It's a whole, a whole bunch of different steps that you have to take. And if you're not doing, if you get this one thing wrong, if one chink in the armor falls through, it's not going to become as effective, but that's why I systematically created this over years. And, for anybody that, does want to learn directly from me, it's richwithrentals.com. That's my coaching program, but I'll explain it, right now a little bit. Maybe I'll give it a little example, I suppose. So I have a 3-tier system that I teach, right? The first tier being regular showings, where you're a brand new agent, you have no earthly clue what you're doing. Go ahead and waste your time. That's fine. That's okay. You're learning as you're wasting your time. That's okay. Like I would not have changed it for the world. Knowing what I know today, well, all right, well, knowing what I know, if I knew what I knew today, it would be different, obviously, but you don't know what you don't know. Mark Cuban has said it best. Doing showings and wasting time for the first like month or two is fine, right? So you don't want to waste a tremendous amount of time. So that's why I kind of teach tier 2, where you're pre-qualifying them without actually doing any paperwork. That's like the second phase to cutting down the amount of showings that you're doing. So you're not showing them properties they don't want. Essentially, that's the best way I can explain it. And then in my system, I break down what that actually means, and there's a lot of little things that go into it. And then the third tier, the final tier, and this is the one that got me up to doing 20, 30 deals, 250 deals a year. That's when you actually qualify them before you even step foot in a house. Before you even step foot in a house, you do a whole entire credit background eviction report, rental application, proof of income, driver's license, the whole 9 yards, write up a quick contract to lease, get it approved by the listing agent landlord first. Then it's like a pre-offer, essentially. You're saying, hey, Mr. Landlord, Mrs. Landlord, will you accept my tenant? And then if you do, we'll go and see the property. So that's the third tier, and that's the actual gem. That will really, really allow you to scale to doing the 20 or 30 deals a month. In tier 1 and tier 2, yes, you can do 5, 10 deals a month, maybe 15 deals a month, but to actually get to that next level, you gotta do my third system, and that's essentially putting in pre-offers, pre-qualifying them first. And that takes a little bit of time to really learn how to do that, because you will scare people away if you do it at the wrong time and you don't have the right tone, you don't have the right energy, the right knowledge, the right experience. You're going to scare them away. They're not going to want to do that because they don't trust you. They don't know you. It's not like, you're friends with their cousin or something. I mean, if it's that kind of case, it's different, but the majority of people are going to be talking to you, you're not going to know them. So that part, that takes some real, some real know-how, I suppose you could say. But I break all of that down. I really teach agents how to do it. And that's why I literally have agents that, off the top of my head, I got an agent named Charlie Rios, and he's closing around 20 deals a month now. Been with me for a few months. I actually just switched over to my brokerage, which is pretty cool because he's making $45,000 a month right now, literally closing dozens of renters a month, plus converting renters into buyers. And it worked so well for him that he was like, listen, I want to join your team. So he actually came in to EXP Realty and joined, my team while doing it. But other agents, you really have to learn to what's the saying? Learn to crawl, before you can walk, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and look, dude, for some reason, sometimes the way we operate over here isn't the way we operate over here. So it's like, okay, like everything that you're talking about, like, hey, man, I'm not going to go work with a buyer like until I do a consultation, until I get them pre-qualified, and with my lenders, it's like, hey, man, I don't want a verbal pre-qual. Like, I want to make sure that you've got their W-2s, that you verified their income, that you verified their assets. Like, I want to make sure that they're hot to trot, like, so that they're ready, willing, able, committed. Like, I can actually help this person before we go out there and commit all this time to showing properties. So we do that on the buy side, but then a lot of people don't think about doing it on the tenant side. So you're really just treating this like you would as a great buyer's agent, and I'm sure doing it very efficiently, but before you invest your time, it's like, hey man, I got to make sure that these people are worth me investing in, that they're actually valid.
And,
And
and that took me time. I didn't do that year one, didn't even really do that year two, kind of took me to my third year to start doing that though.
yep, yep, love it, dude. So then, yeah, because I mean, popping, dude, even with this, man, 30 a month. Like, what did your, I mean, what was your average work week like when that month that you popped 30?
Geez. Yeah, that was only 1 month. My average, it was about 20 per month. And woof, I gotta say, I was a workaholic, nonstop, around the clock. I'm talking, I was going to bed at like 2, 3 in the morning, waking up at like 8 o'clock, and just immediately getting into work, like pick up my phone right away. And I don't even like recommend that anymore, but I was just working nonstop. I stopped eating lunch, literally no breakfast, no lunch, just dinner. So I became like a well-oiled machine. That's even a trick too, because if you don't eat lunch, if you don't have a big heavy lunch, your energy just stays constant all day. So I learned little tricks like that along the way. But I'm telling you, man, if you want to do that many deals, and I did this as a solo agent. This is before I created my team. This is before I got a VA. Before actually, I still don't use transaction coordinators, but I wasn't using a TC. I didn't have like a team leader, like a mentor, like literally alone, 100%. So if I can do this alone, imagine what you could do like with a team, or imagine, what you could do in this market right now. Because I was doing this when they were getting like 30 offers per property back then in 2022. It was a madhouse back then. But I'm saying right now, if you want to do, a tremendous amount of volume, be at the top level of whatever niche you choose, like I personally think rentals are the best niche right now in this market, but who knows? Maybe you want to do FISBOs or door knocking or whatever you want to do, mailers, if you master that one niche, if whoever's watching right now, if you take away one thing, from me, yes, the rentals are amazing and I love them, would never change them for the world. I still do them to this day, but pick a niche and master that niche, right? The riches are in the niches. That is just like something that I will die by. Like you need to become so goddamn good in one niche. I chose the rental niche because I think it's the best niche right now, in this market. So why not go with the odds instead of going against them? I'd rather go downhill instead of uphill. But if you just master one niche, you become the expert. And that's what I did. I became the expert in that niche. Everybody around me knew it. I started getting referrals left and right. Didn't even have to they would do my application like that because their brother did it, their sister did it, or their friend did it, or their cousin did it, and they already knew. I didn't have to explain it to them at that point because they trusted me. So it just became easier, because everybody knew me as the expert in doing this, but I still had to work around the clock to do that. So no illusions. It's not like a get rich quick scheme. It's a make a lot of money very quickly. But it involves a lot of work, and in the beginning for me, it evolved or it involved a lot of trial and error. I had to try this and try that, and did this work and did that work, and it was just so much like inventing, trying to recreate the wheel essentially in real estate. But eventually I got it down, and now, now I can do 10 deals in a month, and only spend a couple hours a day on doing this because I've mastered it so well.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, show me anybody making 60 G's a month that isn't working their ass off. And
Yeah.
okay, I know a lot of people making 60 G's a month that aren't working their ass off now today, but they worked their ass off for a decade straight,
But
and now
yeah,
they're able to play
yeah,
and build a machine. But it's like,
exactly.
whether it be self-employed, real estate, corporate world, like anybody I know making big money, dude, is freaking grinding their ass off, dude.
You have to.
But look, if somebody's content with making 10 grand a month, okay, they can work a sixth of the time.
E- Exactly. You don't, yeah, exactly. Like that's even why I love the rental game so much because yeah, maybe you don't want to do, 16 hours a day and do 30 deals in a month. That's fine. You don't have to. You can work 8 hours a day or 4 hours a day and just do less deals. You'll still do deals. Like you might only do 5 deals a month or 10 deals a month, but you're still going to do deals and you're still going to make money. Like that's the whole beauty of doing this. That's why I like it so much.
Yep. And to your point too, dude, like I remember this was maybe 15 years ago. But and we were doing this strategy for a couple years straight, like back when
Yeah.
Craigslist was really big,
Yeah.
but we'd go in there and they're like, okay, I get, because that point in time in our market, there was a certain rental amount where you could buy for less than you could rent. Like, okay, so we'd go out there and advertise, like, let's just say $1,500 plus a month rentals. So then, okay, you could go buy a $300,000 house, same style house, but have your mortgage, around that same amount, or sometimes cases even less. And again, this was a while ago when prices were a lot less and interest rates were maybe a little bit less. But dude, we would go post rentals just on Craigslist, get those leads, but then just convert those leads like crazy. I mean, about 30% of those, the leads that we converted would then convert into buy side deals. Just that
Yeah.
conversation of, okay, like, breaking down what they're looking for and, rental. But then it was just a quick, easy flip of a script of, hey, just out of curiosity, I mean, have you thought at all about potentially buying? A lot of people aren't aware that in a lot of cases you can buy for less than you can rent. Even when it comes to, down payment versus come up with the first and month rents, there's so many low down payment programs. Is that something that you've explored? And if not, is that something that you would like to explore so we can look at all your options? Like a very subtle, soft pitch. Now I didn't have this strategy while we were scaling up the rental side. I'd refer those out to other agents that I knew did referrals, but we were just kind of doing something similar to you just to get the buy side deals,
Yeah.
and we were getting a shit
Yeah.
ton of them.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I wish it was like I wish the market was, cheaper because it's literally if you get like a $500,000 house like today, depending on the area that you're in, it's probably like closer to $4,500, all in for your mortgage and taxes, insurance, all that stuff. And you can rent that same house for like 3 grand. It's just like ludicrous what happened to the purchase market. Trying to buy a home right now is not it's not an easy task. And I wish it was like that, or I hope it turns back into something like that, because then yeah, you would have more options even working with the renters where, in markets like yours where you do make a little bit less, on the rentals, even though you could still make a healthy living, low 6 figures. You'd have a little bit more options to be able to convert the renters. Unfortunately, nowadays, like that would be a tough sell, as you know, because telling a renter like, hey, you're gonna have to spend an extra $1,000, $1,500 a month to get in the exact
Yeah.
same house. And yes, it will pay off in 10 years. 10 years is like the break-even point right now. But that's a tough sell, so it's coming. In a couple of years, it's coming. But in the meantime, might as well work with the renters, make the, whatever the commission is in your area, make that commission, work with the renters now, work with a few buyers here and there, you know what I mean? Maybe, 5 to 10 purchases a year, and then, kind of bide your time until it does turn into a market like that. Then you'll have such a huge database of all these renters that you helped, plus all the people they know, because you're doing volume. So if you help like 200 people, you're going to have a list of even more than 200 people because all the referrals that they actually end up giving you. Then you could actually work the buyers from that. It really is going to set up a long-term business play while you still make money right now.
Yeah, yeah, and dude, we're in such a blessed, brilliant time with technology, to be able to systematize this stuff. Like when we were doing a lot of volume with the HPA stuff, like I was telling you about, we were using Video Ask, and doing video funnels. So like, okay, here's a video that would explain this. Then based on how they answered those questions, so like their credit score range, their household income range, right? Then it would be, but based on how they answered it, it would take them to a different page with a different video. So by the time we actually booked any type of a Zoom qualification call, like, okay, based on those answers, like it was self-qualifying. Now we still had to
Yeah.
put them through the application phase, but before we jump on a phone call to get them to do the application, is like, okay, like through technology and through, just having the right systems in place, we're able to sift and sort, versus having to sit there and call 200 leads a day and I'm guessing that your to do the volume that you do, you've got this really systematized with something, to that, not the same thing, but in your way, to be able to really
Yeah.
sift and sort through this volume.
Yeah, believe it or not, like I've played or I keep it as simple as possible. You do not when you're doing, hundreds of deals a year alone, without any help, you need to make things as simple as humanly possible. If it starts getting complex, and taking you more time to do certain tasks, forget it. It all just goes out the window. So I had to come up with a way to make sure that I was only spending 30 minutes getting to 200 leads, where it's not going to take me 3 hours to get through all of these leads. So yeah, I created all these systems and processes behind it, but I kept it basic and simple. Like I didn't want to overcomplicate it by using like a CRM where I'm going to have to put in all 200 people's data and then put notes in, then hit them up there and do this for that, and then all of a sudden they figure out, oh my God, I'm talking to an AI, and it's, forget it. Nobody wants to talk to an AI these days. They want to talk to a real person. So yeah, I figured out a way to do it where I'm not even using AI. And I'm sure as AI gets a little better and kind of becomes indistinguishable from a person, because I know they're going to get there eventually, where they're going to just know exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and it's probably going to be scary how it sounds like a real person, but we're not there yet, So I still do have an amazing system, I think, that is just so like simple, straight to the point, where you can still get to everything very quick while keeping that personal aspect, that personal touch, where that person knows it's actually you talking to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, all right, man. So I'm curious about the plans and what you've done to start scaling this to the team, and then I
Ah,
want to get into, learning more about the coaching program. So, but first, kind of talking about your team, because you mentioned that, and that's the brilliant thing, dude, about, you know, mastering the strategy. Then you wrap that around processes and systems. Now it's easy to be delegatable. So, kind of what does that team structure look like, and what's your vision to build this with the team to scale this where now you're not doing the 16-hour days anymore. You're doing a couple hours a day.
yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. So basically, in 2023, I was basically 3 full years of me doing this nonstop, every day alone. I closed about 500 deals at that point, 100% alone, and I was like, you know what? I can keep doing, maybe I can do 300 deals the next year, 350 deals a year after that, and slowly keep rising like that. And grinding myself to the bone. But I had known in my head that I had found something so unique and so special that nobody's ever done before. I'm like, let me share this with the world. I kept it a secret for the first. You didn't hear about me up until last year. Nobody heard about me because I kept this a secret. I didn't tell anybody this. I didn't want any competition. I didn't want anybody knowing how to do this. It's like when you find something like that, you find a buried treasure. You're not going to show somebody the location of the treasure, So I kept it really tight-lipped. And I remember in 2023, I was like, you know what? Not anymore. I'm gonna tell people about this. I'm gonna tell agents how to do this. I'm gonna share my story because I thought I did something that was pretty cool. So I ended up getting on YouTube, creating a whole YouTube channel, and learning about all the equipment you need to film videos, which was super fun. And then I started making videos. Just telling my story, telling my basic strategy. The framework behind doing this, just the real basics. And I did that for a few months, and I had agents that were like, you know what? This works. Like they would just hear a 15-minute YouTube video and be like, oh, I didn't know you can, get permission for a listing, a rental listing, and put it up on Facebook Marketplace and try to get that property rent. I didn't know that was a thing. Nobody had told me about that before. And they started doing it and they started closing like a deal or two a month. And they were like, wow, like I hadn't closed a deal in 6 months. And all of a sudden now I'm closing deals. Do you have more? Do you have more? They would reach out to me. Do you have more? And I'm like, what do you mean more? More what? They're like, more. Like, how are you doing 20 deals? How are you doing 30 deals? You don't explain that. And I'm like, dude, it's take me hours, to go through all of that. Like, I can't do that in a 15-minute video. And they're like, I'll pay you, And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I never tried to get into coaching. I never like intended on doing this. I just wanted to share my story on YouTube. And I had so many agents reaching out to me and like, oh, this works, this works, this works. And they started paying me for my time, and I was starting to do one-on-one coaching sessions. And eventually, over like 6 months, I was like, all right, we were talking before, and it's unscalable. You can't do that, where you're just doing one-on-ones, as fun as that is. So then I used all of my experience over the past 6 months of doing these one-on-one calls and created, it took me like another 6 months or however long it took me to actually create my coaching program. The Rich with Rentals is what I called it. My fiance named it because I ended up, making a bunch of money off of rentals. And it's funny now, it applies to the agents in my program now because they're actually getting rich off of rentals right now, which is like, super, super, super awesome to see. So I ended up making the program. I launched it back in, it was like December of 2023. So it's been almost about a year, basically about one full year of running my coaching program. And I'll tell you this, I've had about 190 agents sign up, and I have my best student so far. I think he made $45,000 in a month, and he's actually replicating that every single month now. He even has a team of agents under him now. It's really cool how this has progressed because it took me years of like blood, sweat, and tears, trial and error to figure this out. And now I can teach agents how to do it in months, literally get up to my level in months. And it's such a cool feeling knowing that. So yeah, I created the program. It's www.richardrantals.com. If anybody's in a market where they're unsure, how much they can make off rentals, book a discovery call with me. If you're in a market where you could make half a month's rent commission, like a Houston, Dallas, Texas, a LA, a New York, a Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Jersey, South Florida, Chicago, Atlanta, Georgia, any of these big markets like that, it just, I would just say sign up now before it becomes like super saturated. Because I always like to say this, right? You remember, back what, like 15 years ago for FISBOs, right? Do you remember when that whole thing became, got started like 15, 20 years ago?
Going after FISBOs. Well, I mean, it's been like, I mean, shit, when I got licensed 20 years ago, it's like my first mentor was like, all right, dude, here's the script, go pound FISBOs, go pound expireds.
And it worked, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It worked. It worked 20 years ago, right? Because nobody really knew how to do it back then. It was just becoming a thing, It wasn't oversaturated. But fast forward 20 years later to today, if you try to do FISBOs, Jesus, if you call them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're gonna have gotten 30 phone calls before
Yeah.
you. It is so saturated. I say the same thing for my rental strategy. I believe firmly in, 10 years from now, it's not going to be as easy doing this rental strategy because I think a lot of agents are going to be doing it and it's not going to be as easy. So I always just say to agents, like, get in right now, learn from me right now, build a massive business right now. And this way, you don't even need to do rentals in a few years. You'll be able to live off your database and make even more just off converting the renters into buyers, or keep doing the rentals, work with the buyers, work with the rentals, create a team. Like, the sky's the limit. So that's how I like equate, my rental system, because no agents are doing it right now. There's a gap in the market. Nobody's been taught to do this. Like, it's not a thing that agents are like aware of right now. So I always say, start before everybody else, become the early adopter, and this way you'll have a leg up over all the competition. So that's basically my coaching program, how I created it and everything. And it works extraordinarily well. So www.richardrantals.com, book a discovery call with me, if you guys would like. And then my team. I know you asked my second question about my
Yeah.
team.
Before we get in your
So
team, can I ask a
yeah.
follow-up question to coaching? So,
Oh
um,
yeah.
because I know with EXP and one of the brilliant elements of EXP is that they allow a model for everybody to win. So as agents, you can create residual income, you can create a retirement plan, exit strategy. So, initially, like I didn't know if this was something that was just offered exclusively to like those joining your downline, but it sounds like
Mm.
this is available because we've got agents all over all different companies. So it sounds like this is available for everybody, not just maybe those in your downline.
Oh, great question. Yeah, so actually it's funny because I've been doing it about a year now, and I'm playing around with the idea of potentially making it exclusive in the future. Because I've realized, like, I'll tell you, every brokerage under the sun has tried to recruit me over the
Yeah.
years. Like, my name always pops up as, doing hundreds of deals. I've never found a brokerage that I like personally more than EXP. I don't want to start my own brokerage and have the headaches of all that and, potential liabilities. I just don't want that. I would rather just be able to teach agents, bring on agents, help them make money, help them bring on other agents. Because yeah, like you said, EXP has like this crazy awesome revenue share model where it's weird how like the percentages work. It's hard to kind of like explain, but you essentially make an X amount of money off of each agent that you bring in. And if you can teach them how to make, $100,000 a year, you're going to become very successful just off of EXP's revenue share model. So it's funny you just brought that up because yeah, I'm actually going in that direction now where I do want to build a really big downline because I have not focused on my downline at all. Only I think it's like 12% of EXP agents actually focus on revenue share. I have not because I've iconed 4 times with EXP in the past 4 years. I'm an icon agent. I'm halfway there again. Just my anniversary date is October, and I'm literally halfway there again, just doing this part time. Um, so I get the $16,000 in company stock. I'm at 100% commission. It's really, really cool having the icon program, but this revenue share. Ooh, I just learned about it like recently at one of the top 50 awards dinners. I spoke at EXP the other 2 weeks ago, and then I went to the top 50 awards dinner, and all these agents were like, "Oh my God, I'm bringing in tens of thousands a month and blah blah blah, all this and that." And I'm like, "Geez, like that's crazy how successful you could become and set up residuals like that, and everybody wins. The agents under you, they make money because you're teaching them how to actually do real estate. They're bringing on other agents. Those agents are learning from you. They make money. You make money. Everybody makes money. It's like the coolest business model in the world." And now what I'm actually doing, I haven't made my program exclusive to EXP yet. I'm potentially in the future, I might do something like that. But for now, what I'm doing, if an agent joins EXP Realty under me, I'm actually giving half off my program. That's what I decided to do. So, I'm giving a half off discount, whatever the price is at the time, slash it in half. You come in, with EXP under me. And honestly, I would like to give it away for free. That's one thing I was like thinking about too. And I was talking to a few, bigger agents, and they're like, big mistake. Even if I wanted to do that, it's not a good idea because if you get something for free, you're not going to see the value in it. You're not going to take it
Get in
serious. You're not
there.
going to do it. It's just, it's not a good idea because you want the agents to succeed. I literally want to create the first ever icon team of agents at Icon because you have to do 20 deals after you cap for EXP. That's kind of like the catch of reaching icon. And I could do 20 rentals in a month, and I could teach agents how to do it in a month. I have a lot of EXP agents coming to me now just to icon, and it's working for them. They're actually iconing now where before they couldn't do it. So I actually want to create the first ever EXP icon team based around doing my rental strategy. And I think it's going to be something that's going to blow the doors off of everybody because it's never been done before.
Yep. Okay. Love it. So I apologize for interrupting you, but I wanted to just ask that. So then, okay. So moving on to your team, like how have you structured it and what's your long-term vision to scale this strategy now that you're plugging in the leverage component?
Yeah, yeah. I wish I'd done it sooner, but whatever. No time like today. I have a few agents that are helping me with my deals now. That's only a limited amount of agents that I have doing that. But in the grand scheme of things, I want to have agents across the whole entire country doing this. Even in your market in Arizona, no, they're not going to be making 500,000 like I could make in South Florida. They'll make a little bit less, but they're still going to make money, and they'll still be able
250
to
ain't bad.
icon with the XP. Well, what'd you say?
I said, yeah, 250 ain't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's really not. And I'll tell you this, if I can build a big team of agents that all have the same goal in common, right? Like, I want to create some kind of like a team aspect where everybody is able to interact, send referrals to everybody, collaborate, set up nationwide, meetups and hold events and all the things that go into not feeling alone. That's one thing where I noticed, some realtors, they feel alone. It's kind of like, they're not in that 9 to 5 work environment where, if you ever seen the show The Office, where they're all friends and buddies, and it's kind of not like that for real estate. And I didn't really have that too much, so I kind of want to create something where you do have that camaraderie and you do build relationships and you feel like you're part of something, like you feel like you're part of a family. So that's my ultimate goal for building a team, is bringing on as many agents that are like-minded, that want to grow, that want to learn, that want to reach icon, which is basically make 100,000 a year essentially, and do the 20 deals after capping. I want like-minded agents to do that with me, help me grow. I really love the company in general. I'm not going anywhere. So I want to help EXP, build it up. And I know Glenn Sand, it's funny. Glenn Sanford, I remember this back in, I think it was 2021 when I hit Icon. We go to EXP Con, to hear all the speakers and everything. And Glenn was up there on stage talking. And he's like, I want to be the first brokerage to reach 500,000 agents. And that stuck with me. I remembered hearing him say that. And I know the real estate market is really like tough right now, because frankly, realistically, a lot of agents don't know there's another path by doing the rentals. If they did, I feel like it'd be actually a strong real estate market for real estate agents right now. But I feel like that's a path that EXP can kind of, use to reach higher levels is by leveraging the rental side of it, and I'm all there, to try to help EXP do it and build this out for them.
Yep. I love it, man. I love it, dude. No, this has been amazing. And man, I commend you on all your success, your continued success, man. I truly appreciate you coming on, dude. This has been awesome.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure, talking to you. I know you've had a tremendous amount of success in real estate, so it was an absolute honor getting to talk to you and have me on. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, 1,000%. And the website again is because we get a lot of people watching us on YouTube, but most listen to this through audio podcasts while they're at the gym, driving. So it's richwithrentals.com.
Yeah, richrents.com. And then for anybody listening, follow me on YouTube. It's I got two YouTube channels now. Andy Coleman's my first channel, and then my new channel, I'm just doing real estate videos for my second channel. It's Andy Coleman Real Estate. And my IG is the Andy Coleman. So yeah, everybody follow me on YouTube, subscribe. If you want to really learn how to do this in depth and save a few years of your time and basically want to have a shortcut to learning what to do, what not to do, and then I do actually a weekly exclusive group coaching call on Zoom every single Wednesday for every agent that signs up for my program. So you also get my whole training platform. Plus you get basically to pick my brain and support from me every single week. So yeah, richrentals.com, I would love to have any agent that has a like mind vision.
Yep. Love it. Love it. And those watching and listening, we truly appreciate you. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep crushing it. Keep kicking ass. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Awesome. Bye guys.